You're such an asshole.
We have an interesting political philosophical question, and I have an interesting political philosophical answer at assholeconsulting.com, where I, the world's only professional asshole, America's older brother, will yell obscenities at the internet as long as you guys pay me. What does your son do? He yells obscenities at the internet. He does. Oh, Marsha, he's such a good boy. And that's not how my mom sounds at all. My mom's name is not Marsha, but let's just assume she is a Jewish lady with that name. Hey, Cappy, I was curious as to what your ideal political system would look like, even if it's still basic democracy or republic, if you want to get technical. I would be interested to know what changes you'd make to make it more meritocratic. For example, Turd Flinging Monkey, which you guys can find on BitChute as well. Get his book, The Way of Monkey book. Very good Taoist, relaxing book. Has nothing to do with politics. It's a very good book. Said he would simply have the voting population be made of only net taxpayers. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Background, if you wish to read. Sure. Basically, I've been around the political block many times as an extremist, from collectivism to hyper-individualism. It's a hobby of mine. Well, how is it a hobby? It should just be like, well, what's most morally correct? Leaving people alone. That's why I'm a libertarian. No, I don't owe you anything, and you don't owe me anything. And, we all get to voluntarily do what we want. Freedom. I don't know how hard of a sell that is. But what if I'm lazy? I don't want to live off of other people. Then can I vote for the Democrat Party? Yes, you can, you parasitic piece of shit. And that's what Democrats are. And I'm not being joined. That's not a slight. That is descriptive. I don't want to work. I want other people's money. Or even worse, I work and I make my own money, but I want to be popular. So I'm going to vote to enslave other people so that they can give other people money, so I feel good and popular and warm and fuzzy because I care. I don't know how it's a hobby. I would like to see what would push America forward, the best option in your opinion. Maybe it will give me a push in the right direction. Okay, well, you have to think about, if you want to derive your politics to have a moral, political, ethical code, respect other people's individualism and their rights. Okay. And I think that's a great place to start. I do not have the right to tell someone to work more to pay extra taxes and essentially enslave themselves to pay for other people's shit or their mistakes. And I don't care how noble, but what about the orphans? Well, I guess it sucks to be an orphan, but I should not have the right to force someone to fork over part of his life and labor to pay for a mistake that wasn't his. It's not his responsibility. So if you start with the respect of the individual, I think you will derive what is the logical, moral, and ethical political ideology, whatever it might happen to be. But the ideal political system, as it comes to voting, I've mentioned this before, but let me go through how I would do it if I was like a dictator, which technically there wouldn't be a democracy then or any voting, but let's say I was benevolent, you could vote me out. And I'll go through what I think is a much more practical and functional one that actually does stand a shot within society. The first thing is I would bring back a lot of the rules and the restrictions as to who could vote from back in the olden days. Now, back then, you had to be a white male and own property. I would not obviously go along traits or racial lines or gender lines or anything like that. But I would certainly increase the voting age to at least 25, ideally 30, because you young, dumb 20-somethings are parasitic and you're dumb. You still live off the government. You need a government bailout. You don't know anything but government. You haven't worked. You haven't supported yourself. You're all living at home. You're not mature or responsible individual, self-supporting adult to vote on the matters of essentially public finance. And on top of it, this is where a political observation would come in. You're completely brainwashed to be entitled and parasitic and demand other people work hard and enslave themselves to give you free shit. So no, you should not have the right to vote. And this is where Turd Flinging Monkey, among many other people, said, oh, you should be a net taxpayer. But how do you assess that, especially with progressive taxes? But we'll get there. So what I would introduce is the voting age. You have to be 30. All right. You ideally would own property. I think you would have to own property. And you cannot be collecting a government check. Like, you can't be on Social Security. You can't be on a military pension. You collect no government check. You're a net producer to society. Then you get the right to say. So there's other traits now. Someone, I think it was Heinlein, like when he did Starship Troopers, like you had to serve in the military, then you could vote. That's not a bad way either. I'm not against that. That'd certainly be better than what we got now. But you just can't give everyone the right to vote because most people are fucking idiots and they're parasitic pieces of shit. And they'll vote to basically enslave their neighbor because they don't want to work. And if everybody's voting to enslave their neighbor, then everyone's enslaved. And there's very few producers and there's a bigger parasitic class and we all collapse. Why isn't there electricity? So that's one way to do it. The other way, and I think this is the much more politically agreeable way, I think this would actually be possible, I think it would simplify things, is you still have a voting age of 30 or 25. And if this system came in, I'd probably lower it to 25 because people would be paying. But we eliminate all other forms of taxation and we just have a sales tax. It's universal, it's flat, and based on GDP with state, federal, and local, you're looking at about a 35% sales tax rate. And what that does then is, I don't care if you're a deadbeat dad or a single trash mom or a drug dealer, whatever, did you pay the 35% when you bought that car? Did you pay the 35% when you bought your Big Mac? Did you pay 30? That makes everybody a net taxpayer. Everyone is paying. So everyone then has a financial and ethical right to vote. And I would also say they have a vested financial interest in their tax rate. And I think that's one of the greatest ways to make the, the franchise, the right to vote. I think that's one of the greatest ways to make the franchise available to the most amount of people. Because whereas I'm an idealist and I'm all about excellence, I also know that other people are not me and they may have a different opinion than me and may want to vote a different way or have a different life. And so if you're going to live within a community of people, I think the most amount of people that are producers should have a say. They should have the right to vote. And so if everyone has to pay a sales tax, we're all paying the same rate, and there's rich people pay, white men pay. No. It's 35%. Here over there, the bag of dicks store. Get yourself a bag of dicks, pay 35% sales tax, and fucking choke on them. Everyone pays 35%. And what that would do is several things. One, it would enable the franchise. I think the vast majority of people, I would say at 25 and old, I still don't want young people voting because you're dumber than shit. You're not wise. You don't know shit. You're also egomaniacs. There's this kid, this Ephraim Koleski or whatever, and he's a political science major, and he wrote about how, like, liberal arts majors are going to save the world and solve all these social problems. Like, no, you're a Nazi. You're a fucking Nazi, and you don't want to work, and you will do whatever you can to avoid real work. So I don't want any of you children, whether you got pubes or not, voting. But then 25, I think usually you're like waking up, you're not in school anymore. You're like, oh, you mean I have to work to not starve? I have to work to eat? Yes, you do. Oh, production, I get it now. Like, we just can't make money print or go burr? No, we can't. Everyone would be paying. Everyone, if you had just one tax rate, and this is another sales point of the sales tax, is people that know what they're paying. So, wouldn't it be great if we just gave children free everything? It's like, okay, well, that's going to be roughly, we'd have economists come in like, okay, well, it's 35% now, but if we did that, it's going to be 42%. But I want other people to pay for it because I'm your standard American Democrat leftist. I'm not supposed to pay. You guys are. But that would also, having one tax rate being a sales tax, everyone would be invested. Everyone would have a financial investment or interest in the finances of the country. And then if we all said, well, we're going to do this, you could see it because there's one number now, sales tax. It's not income tax, capital gains, or other. It's not obfuscated. It's not complicated away and obscured by complexity. Oh, well, now we got to go to a 37% tax rate. Then people are like, whoa, do I want to pay 37% more when I buy diapers at Walmart? And then, but I think that would be that's how I would run it, truthfully, not dictator Aaron. I'd say, all right, we're getting rid of we're consolidating all the taxes, balanced budget, Boom, right here. Here's your tax rate. If you want it, you're paying for it. We're not printing off money. We're not doing the magic trick where the Treasury prints off bonds and the Federal Reserve prints off money and buys it. See, we're not really just printing off more money. There's a bond. See? I have a doctorate. I'm the chairman of the Fed. I are so smart. That's a brilliant trick. No, okay. It's just so stupid. And everyone will be like, oh, well, do we want to have free everything for everyone? Well, then the tax rate will be 100%. But then I'll have none of my money. Right. Yes. You finally got it now. Parasites voting to enslave other parasites so no one has to work. We're all enslaved now to each other. You got it. Yep, there you go. So that's how Cappy would rule the world. Let's go to the super chats. The goddamn Bacon, who I tuned into his podcast this morning. I took a nap. I woke up at like 6, did some work, went back to bed at 8, woke up at 10. I was listening to the Bacon at thegoddamnbacon.com for 223. Ideal political system? None. Wrote about this. You're going to have a political system. I'm an anarchist. Don't anarchist me, Bacon. Because I'll just get 2 of my friends with guns and we'll have a dictatorship. And as long as we got enough people that are bigger and stronger with more guns, then you go to warlordism. KWH, 14 Canadian bucks. Capitan, thanks for your advice. Nearly debt-free and loving life. Cheers, bud. Cool, thanks. If you're in Canada and summer's coming up, may I recommend you go travel around British Columbia and the Canadian Rockies. Most beautiful part of any place I've seen except for Moab. Is that it? We're all caught up. All right, there we go. See you guys later. Toodles.